It's a quiet Sunday afternoon, December 14th, 2025. We're in Brentwood, Los Angeles, an area known for, its serenity, for Hollywood's elite living quiet lives. But that quiet was just shattered, not with some big explosion, but with a simple call for medical aid at the home of director Rob Reiner and his wife, the photographer Michele Singer Reiner.
And that one call, it just spirals. What starts as a request for help turns into, well, a full-blown nightmare the second authorities walk through that door.
And that's really the pivot point, isn't it? The moment a tragedy becomes a crime scene.
And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
Welcome to StarScope Report.
Join us, Jordan and Jamie, as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today, we are going deep on this one. Hollywood's darkest family secret, the tragic, violent deaths of Rob and Michele Reiner.
And the investigation that almost immediately led to the arrest of their own son,
Nicholas Reiner.
Let's start with the facts of the crime scene. The LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division took over, and the initial findings, they all pointed in one really terrifying direction.
Yeah, the LA County Medical Examiner's report was pretty clear. Both Rob and Michele died from multiple sharp force injuries.
So, a knife attack. That is a profoundly intimate way to commit violence.
Incredibly intimate. And that, combined with the location of the attack inside the master bedroom and the fact there was no forced entry, I mean, that changes everything for investigators.
Right. It's not a random home invasion.
No. The focus immediately shifts to someone who was allowed in, someone with a key.
Which is how this story becomes so devastating so quickly. The sources, they detail this agonizing discovery.
It was their daughter, Romy Reiner, who found them.
She'd gone over because a massage therapist couldn't get into the house for an appointment.
Can you even imagine? She walks in, finds her father, and just flees, understandably. She was so traumatized she didn't even know her mother was also gone in the same room.
It was actually her roommate who ended up making the 911 call.
So that first call for medical aid, it was coming from a place of pure shock and panic.
And with no forced entry, the focus immediately narrowed, and it narrowed right onto the guest house on the property,
where their 32-year-old son, Nicholas, was living.
Exactly. And the timeline here is incredibly fast. By 9:15 p.m. that same Sunday, police had located Nicholas near USC.
And he was arrested without resistance. That tells you something.
It tells you the police were very, very confident. The DA filed charges just 2 days later, 2 counts of first-degree murder.
With special circumstances.
Right. Multiple murders, use of a deadly weapon. For the DA to move that fast, the evidence must have been just, overwhelming from the start.
It really paints a clear forensic picture, but that's just the very end of this story.
And that is just the tip of this devastating story. Before the police closed in, there were public clues to Nick Reiner's declining state. Stick around, because we're going deep into the family tensions that boiled over the night before.
But first, if you're loving these twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
Okay, so let's talk about the son who hated the noise.
The background of Nicholas Reiner is, it's just a case study in how privilege can't solve everything. It's about chronic addiction, yes, but it's also about the failure of our entire treatment system, even when you have endless money to throw at it.
His battle with polysubstance abuse. We're talking heroin, methamphetamine. It started when he was just a teenager.
So young.
And the sources say that over 17 years, he went through at least 17 different treatment facilities.
Wow. 1 a year for almost 2 decades.
Right. And you'd think all that money, all those resources would be the best help possible. But sometimes it just insulates you from the consequences,
It pads the fall. He could just leave, go homeless for a while, and avoid the accountability that sometimes forces people to get sober for good.
He even admitted it himself. He called himself a spoiled, white, rich kid from a Hollywood family. He knew the money wasn't helping the actual struggle.
And that gets us to the core of it, I think, this idea of the noise. He told NPR once that his drug use was an attempt to kill the noise.
The noise of his family's fame. His father, Rob Reiner. His grandfather, legendary Carl Reiner.
That is an immense shadow to live under, that kind of comedic and cinematic royalty. It's a lot of pressure.
And they tried to deal with it through art. In 2015, Nick co-wrote a movie that his dad directed, Being Charlie.
It was semi-autobiographical, all about this addict son struggling with his famous father. It's just profoundly sad.
Rob Reiner called it the most personal thing he'd ever done. It feels like this desperate attempt, a father trying to use their shared craft to save his son.
A Hail Mary almost. turning their private pain into public art just to try and connect.
And yet, there's this huge contradiction. As recently as September 2025, Rob Reiner was telling reporters Nick had been clean for 6 years. He said he was in a really good place.
Which just makes the truth of their final weeks even more gut-wrenching. Because sources close to the family said they were anything but calm. They were, quote, terrified and apprehensive.
They saw his mental health just collapsing, and they felt like they'd run out of options.
And that fear was based on history. There were reports of violent outbursts. One neighbor recalled an incident 8 years earlier where Nick had apparently destroyed his parents' house while on meth.
So the anxiety they felt wasn't new. It was built on years of this kind of destruction.
It creates this awful sense of dread, like it was all just building to something. How do you live with that level of fear for your child and for yourselves?
But the breakdown wasn't quiet. The final confrontation happened in a very public place among some of Hollywood's biggest names.
Right.
We have the full details on the argument that became the final straw.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's Saturday, December 13th, the night before the murders.
The Rainers bring Nicholas to a holiday party. And it's not just any party. It's hosted by Conan O'Brien.
And the reason they brought him, according to the reports, was for watchful supervision.
That phrase alone just tells you everything, doesn't it? A celebrity party becomes a chore, a risk management exercise.
The anxiety they must have felt trying to manage their volatile son in a room full of A-listers, it's wow.
And apparently, Nicholas's behavior that night just confirmed all their fears. He was described as erratic, unsettling.
He was going up to people, famous people like comedian Bill Hader, and repeatedly asking them, are you famous?
Right. What's your name? Are you famous? It goes right back to his struggle with the noise of celebrity. He was in the one place guaranteed to trigger him.
It wasn't just random. It was his whole trauma playing out in public.
The interaction with Bill Hader was really specific. Nick interrupted him. Hader politely said he was in a conversation, and Nick just stood there, staring at him before storming off.
The pressure cooker just exploded.
It all came to a head in a very loud and heated argument between him and his father. Witnesses heard Rob Reiner telling Nick his behavior was inappropriate.
Yeah, and the whole family left the party early.
That was the last public fight. Hours later, the homicides allegedly took place. Afterwards, Nick's movements were tracked. He checked into a hotel in Santa Monica.
Just so mundane. He was even caught on security video at a gas station buying a drink shortly before he was arrested. The psychological whiplash is just intense.
Then we get to the legal side. He appeared in court on December 17th. He was shackled, wearing one of those padded blue suicide prevention smocks.
Standard for inmates who are considered a risk to themselves.
His arraignment was pushed to January, and the DA is now weighing whether to seek the death penalty, which is, a whole other complicated issue in California.
And while the legal process was just starting, the public reaction was already a tidal wave. I mean, these were giants.
Rob Reiner.
Yeah.
Meathead. The director of The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally. A huge political activist. Tributes came from everyone, from Barack Obama to Billy Crystal. Jerry Seinfeld even said Reiner saved Seinfeld from being canceled.
And we have to talk about Michele Singer Reiner. She wasn't just his wife. She was an incredible photographer. She shot the cover of Trump's Art of the Deal. She was a producer. She was the one who convinced Rob to give When Harry Met Sally a happy ending.
She showed him what real love looked like, he said.
Yeah.
Of course, the public reaction wasn't all unified. We have to note that Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, attacking Reiner for his political activism.
Right. And that post got a lot of immediate condemnation.
We're just impartially reporting what the sources say happened in the aftermath. It was a very sharp political note in the middle of all this grief.
It brought the noise right back in, didn't it?
Amidst all of that, the surviving kids, Jake and Romy, released a statement. They just talked about their unimaginable pain and asked for privacy.
The stars they kept shining, the stories they told. But the private story ended in darkness. What stands out to you about how even Hollywood royalty can't escape the devastating reality of familial dysfunction?
I think it's the irony. It's just so powerful. Rob and Michele Reiner built a legacy on crafting the perfect happy ending. They were masters of it.
They defined the modern romantic comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But their own story, their real life story,
Yeah.
ended in the most shocking, devastating way possible. It forces you to ask, what happens when mental illness and addiction become a noise so loud that even endless love and resources can't silence it?
A painful, painful reminder that fame and fortune aren't a shield from human tragedy.
You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.